welcome to the Pig and Whistle Tales from Azeroth. As always, here at the Pig and Whistle Inn in Stormwind, I go for a variety of subjects with regards to World of Warcraft. So grab a bottle or a pint, sit back and enjoy. Today we're going to be going over the Rate My Dungeon series, and we've been picking up a bit of traction on the series, actually, on the Rate My Dungeon series, so thank you very much for that. It means a lot that you guys are listening to the midweek podcast. I know they're a bit shorter than the main ones, but it is really appreciated, and just seeing the love and support for it is absolutely incredible. But we are on to our... God, we're in the teens of dungeons now. Towards the end of Classic, we're looking at Blackrock Depths. Now, Blackrock Depths, for those who are a veteran at the game, know that the Classic version is interesting, to say the least. Those who are not as familiar to Blackrock Depths, let me give you an understanding of what this is. It's a labyrinth, a literal labyrinth with 19 bosses, 19, yep, 19, and a possible 21 in total. That includes rares. Now, when I say labyrinth, I mean there is literal multiple ways that you can traverse this dungeon. You can go off to the left if you have a key and go and kill a giant rock golem, and then you loop back on yourself, or you can go straight ahead, go to the right and go to the prison cells. You can go straight ahead to the gladiator arena. You can do many different things in this instance, and that's just the start, but there is many different things that you have to do. You have to keep going back on yourself constantly. If you want to do every single boss in this instance and clear the entire instance, in classic World of Warcraft, this will take you a couple of hours. A couple of hours to do this instance, potentially. If you don't necessarily know where you're going, even if you do know where you're going, I would say it still takes about an hour and a half with a very efficient group. An efficient group. Purely on the basis of this is maybe the longest dungeon in Warcraft history. I'm trying to think if there's any others. I don't believe there is. No, I believe Blackrock Depths is the longest and biggest dungeon in World of Warcraft's history. Obviously, if I am wrong, then it's one of them things. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but it is so ridiculously big, this dungeon, that people do get lost. Even to this day, people who are veterans at the game still have no understanding of how this dungeon is. I have a solid idea of it, but I couldn't tell you exactly where to go. I could, there's one part of the instance that I have no clue about. I didn't even know existed, but I know, like, the main areas. I know the bar where you do the Brewfest boss. I know the starting sort of area around the instance portal, Gladiatory Arena. I know that. I know underneath that is a boss. I know that multiple patrol bosses are in the game or in the instance. All of it is absolutely crazy. I did it on my mage back in Classic, and it was absolutely insane how long it took. It was ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Anyway, I put this down as, in terms of the layout of the dungeon, I put down in my notes, headache, because that is essentially what it is. It is a massive headache for those that do not understand the route, or if you are new to the game, you obviously won't understand the route, but even if you're a veteran at the game, just remembering the route is more than difficult enough to do, let alone focusing on your damage rotations and all of that stuff as you're going through. Keeping your concentration up for that amount of time is very intensive. And it wasn't a dungeon that you could just skip as well. It was basically the quest that you had to do in Blackrock Depths is to attune for Molten Core. So you didn't have to run through Blackrock Depths every time to get into Molten Core. And you can do lava jumps, lava runs, as they were known, and essentially skip the entire, most of the dungeon anyway, albeit via a very dangerous route to complete this quest. But it was still time consuming. It still took about 10, 15, 20 minutes to do this quest alone, and that's by skipping most of the packs in the instance. Absolutely crazy. So you were forced to go into Blackrock Depths if you wanted to raid Molten Core, unless you wanted to run through Blackrock Depths every time, but there was no point. Honestly, there was no point at all. You were forced to go into Molten Core. No, not into Molten Core, into Blackrock Depths to do the Molten Core attunement so you could get teleported to Molten Core. It was absolutely ludicrous that they put that in the back of the instance. They wanted to do that with... they did it with not Onyx's lair, Blackwing lair as well, but thankfully they put an attune in just to click the orb. They kind of wanted they wanted to make it an experience getting even to these raids, but a lot of people just wanted to get into the raid because the raid itself took a while anyway. But Blizzard at the time in 2004 wanted raids to take several hours, and it's just not sustainable with what people want to do in terms of getting a 40-man group and stuff. But yeah, I'm getting off track. So, Rate My Dungeon. The layout of Blackrock Depths is very meh. It's a headache. But the gear is also very meh. Like, that is the thing. You're trading a really complicated labyrinth of a dungeon for no good standout loot. The only decent loot that was in this instance was Hand of Justice for melees and Iron Foe. Now, Iron Foe was a weapon that when you struck your opponent had a chance to proc another melee hit. So it was very good for melees, this instance. But if you're looking to do it as a caster, honestly, I would just skip it. Do the Molten Core attunement and then just skip it. It's so time consuming and really not worth your while. You're better off doing Sunken Temple or anything else, to be honest with you. Did they do a revamp in Cataclysm? I would be shocked if they didn't, but they did. They essentially split it up into a lot of sections and basically just condensed the running part of the instance. So you have a few sort of wings to it. You have like the prison cell where there's only one boss. You literally enter the instance, walk forward, go off to the right a little bit and kill the boss, and that's very quick and done. You have the end where you start at the Naga boss and work your way through that wing up until Therazane. Is it Therazane? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. Where you save Moira, Bronzebeard. You've got that wing, which is the end of the instance where Iron Foe and stuff can drop, and Hand of Justice now, I believe. But yeah, they revamped it. They squished everything. They basically culled 75 to 80% of the instance, which is insane, by the way. That is like insane to think about. They put in this much effort for a labyrinth of a dungeon, and then they just squished it. 80% of the content is it's still in the game. You can sort of wander off and explore, but there's no need to. There's really no need to. Once you get your XP for the random dungeon finder, you're kind of just... There's no point killing the mobs, essentially. So it's good that it got a revamp, but honestly, it's not the most aesthetically looking. It's not the most pleasing overall. It's got to be a 4 out of 10 for Blackrock Depths. If you've never done a dungeon like this before, I would very much recommend going in there and seeing the instance for yourself, because it's something to behold. It's something that Blizzard would never do again, and it's something that a lot of people, you do it once just to experience the dungeon, but never again. It's one of them sort of things. Dead Mines, obviously, you can do it a few times because it's not too long, it's not too short. Shadowfang Keep, again, decent-sized dungeon. You look at Zul'Farrak, very decent-sized dungeon with good loot. But Blackrock Depths was just the longest dungeon with very average loot. Caster average loot. There are a couple pieces that Melee wanted, or physical. But yeah, it wasn't great. It wasn't great. So 4 out of 10 is what I'm going to give it in this Rate My Dungeon episode. But I want to just say thank you all very much again for the love and support on the channel, on the podcast lately. for both this midweek episode and the main episodes on Friday. It is absolutely amazing. If you want to check out any ad-free content, the Patreon is down below, as well as Twitch and YouTube. Constant stuff happening over there. There is no guaranteed Wednesday and Sunday streams, but we will be streaming all throughout the week constantly. This is due to the guild taking a break from raiding for Christmas period, which I think every guild should. Makes sense. But yeah, thank you all very much for listening once again, and go with Valor Friend. Goodbye all.